Alexander Kachanovskiy speaking. Greetings, dear colleagues and friends, and let's now continue our conference by answering the remaining questions that we received for the Board of Directors. Where is the combined Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited company registered? In England, Malta, or on the Marshall Islands? The company is registered on the Marshall Islands, and as you can see depicted on the slide, this is one of the few jurisdictions in the world that allows to have a large amount of shareholders to companies from all over the world. This is a United States jurisdiction with hundreds of thousands of companies registered there. Shares of which company are being currently sold to private investors? Of the combined Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited or of the custodian company with the same name? There's just one Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited company registered on the Marshall Islands, and we have a custodian company that monitors and regulates the registry and the rights of all the shareholders, from verification in accordance to European directives to controlling payouts to shareholders in accordance to established legislation. However, this is its own independent custodian company, not part of the group of Gem4Me companies. Shares of which company will be exchanged to shares of Gem4Me and MarketSpace? Of the combined Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited or of the custodian company with the same name? On this slide, you can see the stages of our company's development and the shares accompanying those stages in green, purple, and we are now in the blue stage of shares of Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited. However, the shares of all of these shares are combined in Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited, and shares of Gem4Me Custodian Services Limited and MarketSpace Custodian Services Limited were exchanged for the shares of Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited for the purpose of simplifying the structure and for all the shareholders to have shares of the same exact company, Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited, located on Marshall Islands. Why is the combined Gem4Me MarketSpace company not registered in England? It is not registered in England due to the fact that British legislature does not allow to have such a large amount of private shareholders, which is why we were searching for a jurisdiction that allows this notion. What is the relationship between the English jurisdiction and Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited? As you can see depicted on the slide, it has the jurisdiction through Waterton, which owns 50.1% of all shares. Who owns the combined Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited company? As you can see on the structure, 49.9% is owned by private investors of the company and any approximately 10 million of shares, and 50.1% at 10,020,000 shares owned by the board of directors, the administrative team, developers, and the underwriters. What do private investors purchase, shares or tokens? Private investors purchase shares through tokens, which are a transitional financial tool. Tokens are initially purchased and are then instantaneously exchanged for shares, and all shareholders own shares of the company, which is also confirmed by all the appropriate documents. Are we able to monitor the amount of users of Gem4Me? Unfortunately not. Google Play Store and Apple Store do not necessarily have exact tracking or numbers of users, although Google does provide us with a personal account where we can see daily numbers and even in real time, as depicted on this slide. Google Store itself also has a stage-by-stage depiction of the amount of users from 10,000 to millions, although there's a large break between 10 million and the next stage is 50 million. As soon as we reach 50 million, the number will also change in Google Store. Our internal Google Access depicts these numbers and we can always share them with you. The second screenshot depicts App Gallery for Huawei smartphones, where we currently have 949,000 downloads on that platform, plus 27.7 million on the Android version, and App Store does not depict any numbers at all, although our internal analytics system depicts slightly over 1 million on the Apple platform. Therefore, as of today, we have 29,600,000 users currently, and we depict these numbers each Monday during our weekly conferences. What package needs to be purchased in order to complete the verification and be enlisted in the registry of shareholders? Will this happen when I purchase the smallest package of shares? Any package of shares is eligible, starting with the Go package. By purchasing any package of shares, you become a shareholder and you have the right to complete the verification and be listed in the registry of shareholders. When two companies are combined, it results in me having CCA 10 only in market space, and I closed it twice. And the second one seems to have disappeared. Can the second CCA 10 be accounted for with Gem for me? Unfortunately, no. This option is not available. However, each new consecutive time CCA 10 is achieved, the shareholder receives complimentary shares as a bonus for the hard work to be rewarded. How much funds was invented over the course of the last 3 months? We also depict these numbers regularly during our presentations, and as you can see, in January of this year we regenerated 1.3 million euro, while over the course of last 3 months there was a total of 5.3 million euro invested in our project. Which official document confirms ownership and the amount of shares of tokens owned? And can we see the registry of shareholders and find ourselves in it? As depicted on this slide, this is the official certificate of share ownership that depicts the amounts of shares that a shareholder owns, and it can be both obtained in electronic form and in a paper form. Moreover, the registry of shareholders is maintained by the custodian company, and the shareholders can obtain official extracts obtained by order. It depicts the amount of shares owned, the total founding capital of shares, as well as the shareholder's name, ID number, date of birth, and residency address. This document is officially notarized and is also an official form of confirmation of ownership in addition to the certificate. And this extract does cost a fee, however, and in the business center there is a specified section where you can order one of these extracts or certificates in paper form. I was promised dividends but none received yet. We have been developing our messenger for several years and it's still not sold. Viber and WhatsApp were sold quite quickly and they have 5 billion users and 1.2 billion users respectively. Those users seem satisfied and do not seem to be transferring to Gem for me. On this slide, you can see the average timeframes and values of how long other messengers on the market today took to develop, from 5 years up to 11 years for some. And even after these applications are purchased, they continue being developed further. Moreover, in 2014 and even 5 years ago, these applications were primitive compared to the standards of what is offered in this market sector today. Therefore, it takes longer to implement all the cutting-edge features. Our application will turn 6 years old this year, and that is normal, as nowadays we are developing a highly complicated product with a marketplace built in it. And only one other application depicted here has a built-on own marketplace just like us, named WeChat. How many developers do we have in our project? Members of the board of directors, developers, the legal team, marketing team, and etc. We don't necessarily have an official count, however, it is approximately 100 employees and staff spread across the whole world, as well as our project has thousands of fundraisers who work all the time, and they help promote the project and attract new investments for which they receive generous rewards for their fundraising. How many bank accounts of mine can receive profits from my investments after the project is sold? You can receive the profits to any amount of bank accounts that you enlist with appropriate amount. However, the funds can be received only by the shareholder themselves, not by family members or anybody else. In the official contracts, shareholders will be able to depict their desired bank accounts as well. Please advise if information for shareholders who are not members of VIP Club 5000 on how to manage profits after the application is sold will be provided in the nearest time. Investors who are members of VIP Club 5000 have a plan of action in this regard. We are investors too and will have quite large amounts incoming and need this question worked through in advance. There are currently 195 members of VIP Club 5000 as they hold significant packages of shares, and we will offer them more assistance due to their large inputs in the project's success. However, We will be assisting and guiding all of our shareholders through the process, and we will also be recommending our trusted legal and consulting company partners to assist you in these processes further. Let's now continue our conference with some traditional weekly news. As part of our generous referral program each week, we do summarize the results of the earnings and work conducted and the weekly earnings of those active partners, fundraisers, and investors. As you can see, the geography of those hardworking individuals is widespread across the whole world over the course of last week. So let's now congratulate 40 investors from 10 countries with more than €1,000, 21 investors from 5 countries with more than €2,000, 9 investors from 4 countries with more than €5,000, and 4 investors from 3 countries with more than €7,000 earned in just 1 week. And our top earning investor of last week earned €16,200. These are the profitability rates of our project for those partners, investors, and fundraisers who wish to earn not just when our project is finished and is sold, but also while it is currently being finalized and developed. So let's make these amounts more frequent over the course of final development, and we are confident that this is the time when big amounts can and will be earned, and we hope that you are also planning on earning such great amounts over the course of this time. As a reminder, our schedule of conferences for the following few weeks is depicted on the slide, so be sure to submit any questions you may have in order for the board of directors, our developers, and marketing team to prepare diligent answers. Please be advised that the process of sealing the registry of shareholders of MarketSpace Custodian Services Limited is currently underway, and due to current audits being conducted prior to the registry being sealed, investors who have not submitted their documents for verification can still do so by February 14th of 2022 by paying for business support for 1 year in addition. Partners who have recently purchased packages of shares prior to January 4th of 2022 must also submit all the necessary documentation for their verification by February 28th of 2022. And let's now move on to the hottest and latest promotions of 2022. Firstly, the amount of shares currently available is depicted here on this slide, with only less than 500,000 shares available for private investors to purchase. You can see the most recent amount of shares available on this slide and in your business centers as well. Moreover, this rather simple table depicts the new career plan introduced recently. The 2 columns on the left remain unchanged as before, the total amount of steps and the time frames for attaining a new career qualification, on which the bonus of shares for speed also depends. Purple columns, D and E, depict shares received through the previous career plan, which you are quite familiar with by now. However, the 2 green columns depict what investors will be receiving starting January 3rd when attaining these new career qualifications. Take a look at how much more shares are issued through the new career plan. For instance, for silver presidents, previously it was 100 shares and now it is 2,000 shares, and so on, totaling 15,000 additional shares with 10% also for the speed of attainment as well. This is a rather revolutionary career, and we will also discuss further on how to receive these shares later. Most importantly, please note that in the new career plan, everything will depend on the status of the partner. And also additionally, we also are very happy to remind you of our option promotion, during which when you purchase any package of shares of the new Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited company, you will receive an option for the purchase of a package of shares at a very profitable price of 70% of the current cost of a particular package when the option is realized. And now, a reminder of our main promotion of 2022 so far. As we've mentioned many times before, the stage D of our global expansion and the sale of new shares out of the pool of 500,000 shares initiated for all investors with coefficient of corporate activity at 0. However, we are pleased to announce a temporary moratorium for closing CCA qualifications of Gem4Me Custodian Services Limited and MarketSpace Custodian Services Limited. Calculation of CCA qualification in Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited does start at CCO 0. However, each closed CCA qualification in Gem4Me MarketSpace Limited will yield a similar step in the registries of Gem4Me Custodian Services Limited and MarketSpace Custodian Services Limited. The CCAs can still be increased, and any purchase of package of shares and the next step of CCA will increase in all the registries simultaneously. In other news, we are very excited to remind you of the CCA 10 bonus package of shares promotion, during which partners who have or will achieve CCA 10 for second time or third or fourth will making purchase of new package of shares of MarketSpace Limited will receive an additional bonus in shares complimentary in accordance to the breakdown on this slide. The Pay with Crypto and Receive Cashback promotion is back, during which, when paying for any packages of shares and business support using encrypted currency, such as Bitcoin or Ethereum, and we've also recently added USDT as another accepted currency for your convenience, you will receive a cashback in the amount of now 7%. And on this note, I would like to thank you for your time, wish you profound weeks full of big earnings and accomplishments. Keep up the hard work, thank you for your time, and until we meet next time.